Hello everybody, welcome to this live webinar. We're just going to give it a minute to give time for everyone to join us, and we will officially start shortly. So we'll sit and wait patiently just for everyone to come online. So hang on in there, we'll be with you in just a moment. Hello, well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for joining us for this live Dejero webinar. I'm super excited about the conversation we're going to have today. My name is Hannah Shellswell. I'm your host today. I'm the creative director at Freedom Media. So we're a creative agency. We're actually based in Jersey in the Channel Islands, which is a tiny island that's about 9 miles by 5. But I can tell you there's plenty going on here, and we serve clients both here on the island and further afield. I'm also a host and anchor and presenter, and that's why I've been asked to lead the conversation today, which I am really looking forward to. And I really want you all to join the conversation as well. There's going to be an opportunity at the end of this hour for us all to ask questions. So do get your questions into the chat area. We would really love to hear from you. So what are we talking about today? It is, of course, the topic that everyone is talking about. We can't escape it. It is the global pandemic, and it's how it's forced the film production industry to adapt to the challenges of travel restrictions, of physical distancing, and of course, the limitations that everyone is facing right now on set. And this session is going to give us an opportunity for a conversation with two experts, two amazing guys in the film production industry, and learn from them as to how they're leveraging the power of multiple network connections and Dejero technology to transform the status quo in production and post-production workflows. So they're going to share with us how these workflows have helped them to navigate the COVID-19 pandemic, and also how they believe that it doesn't end here. These workflows create efficiencies that are going to provide benefits that are going to extend way beyond the pandemic. There's got to be a silver lining, right? In a crisis, you've got to have some benefits, and we're going to talk about those today. And we're going to be chatting to Brandon Cooper from First Mile Technologies, and also to Brian Gallagher from Pitch 5 Productions. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. It's great to see you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
So Brandon, can I start with you? Can you just tell us who you are and a bit about yourself and your company as well, and what you get up to?
Yeah, I'm the president, founder of First Mile Technologies. I've been in and around the film business for the past 25 years, spending a lot of time up until recently working and building, operating, and servicing camera rental houses. So for years, I've been providing cameras and support to productions of the highest level, from commercials to movies of the week, and dramatic TV series. A year ago, I started First Mile Technologies, and we're bringing connectivity, next level connectivity, to people in film and media production.
Sounds great. It must have been a busy time, and we're going to find out more about that in just a moment. And Brian, if you could just tell us a bit about yourself as well.
Yeah, hi. I've been in the business for about 25 years. I have, so I started in sports and has been working in a lot of different areas in production, developing shows, doing commercials, digital content, social content. And then 6 years ago, I started Pitch 5 Productions, and the focus has been on commercials, digital, short form productions. So that's what we've been working on.
Great, and we're going to see some of your work in a bit. But Brandon, can I come to you first of all and ask, what are you doing that's changing the remote production and post-production game at this time?
Well, really what we're doing is, it's like I mentioned, we're bringing levels of connectivity that people in this industry haven't seen before. Connectivity tools we're developing. We're also working with Dejero and using that as a backbone for what we're doing. But we're bringing connectivity tools to creative people so that they can enhance their creativity and their workflows and their processes, and try and find ways to be able to keep creative people involved in productions, even if they can't be on set or they need to be included from far-flung places.
And that's absolutely critical at this time. And Brian, how did you get involved in incorporating connectivity into your business and your workflow?
Well, as soon as, obviously the pandemic hit, we started to, see and understand that in order to, be on set or help our clients, with their issues as far as like not being on set and figuring out how to do a production when, you just can't be there. So, that's when I started really talking to Brandon about this stuff and figuring out ways around and really creating a remote production package for our clients so they could have a remote video village and then also be able to edit in real time the footage instead of having to wait for things to get back, from a drive being shipped out from whatever location.
So you guys have been working together quite a lot?
Yeah. Yes, definitely. I mean, their system's great. There are a few different things out there, but and Brandon obviously will get into this. He's the expert at it more than me. But the biggest thing is that the system has its own built-in cell signal, and you're not having to worry about the Wi-Fi at a location, which normally is bad. And we can get into it later, but there's been a few times where the system saved me in a few productions just because the Zoom link or the Wi-Fi was so bad that it dropped and we needed something else to keep the signal going for the production.
Right, we all know about those issues. So Brandon, what problems are you looking to solve then in all of this?
Well, a lot of it is what Brian's talking about. I mean, it's really robust and reliable connectivity and having that. I mean, we spend so much time, and we've spent so much time over the years talking about on set how incredible the camera is. It's a computer, and it's capable of incredible resolutions and incredible pictures. We talk in post-production about the fantastic things we can do in edit suites, in effects suites. We can have multiple people all over the world working on the same frame of a show at one time. Yet our sets have largely been dark. I mean, we measure video transmission in feet and we need line of sight in most cases, which is really limiting. We talk about moving data like we used to move film negatives still by hand, which is completely crazy when you consider that there are tools out there that are being used and have been used in the broadcast industry for a number of years. Dejero has essentially revolutionized broadcast from a remote standpoint. Entire networks now rely on simply, boxes like the Engo instead of a satellite truck or instead of, a microwave link or whatever. It's, the things you can do by bonding cellular connectivity is limitless. Really, it's up to your imagination. What we're doing is we're facilitating really low latency, high resolution video transmission from your set to wherever you need it to be. And we can do that with an encoder, or we can give you a router which has bonded cellular connections in it so that you can network it into whatever you're using. And so we can be the solution, or we can be part of the solution. It all depends on what you need.
So this really is a game changer. I mean, Brian, how have these new workflows impacted your work then?
Well, I mean, like I said before, the biggest thing I think for us is being able to see what the camera is actually capturing. So a lot of times what a lot of people are doing or were doing was using the Zoom, setting up a Zoom link and, directing or talking to the talent or whatever the situation is through Zoom. And I think the problem with that is if your Zoom link goes down, you're pretty much out. And then the other thing too is you're not exactly 100% sure what you're actually capturing. You hope you're getting what you want, but you can't really see it. So by tapping in directly into the camera, you can see exactly what you're getting in real time, understanding like, okay, let's move the camera this way, that way, pan in, pan out, whatever the case is. And you're able to, there's just no guessing at that point, you know? And again, there's different ways to do that. But again, I haven't found anything even close to the reliability that the Engo has, just for not losing a signal, you know, when you're working on a production.
Which is key. And I imagine there must be time savings in that. There must be cost savings.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, it's just a matter of, you know, because if you don't get what you need, what do you have to do? You have to go back out and shoot again. You have to pickups, and you have to get your pickups. You have to do that. So it's you know what you're getting. There's no you know, guessing involved. So it does save. It's more of the headache and the uncertainty that you're kind of avoiding by using something like this.
So Brandon, in situations like this, you're always going to have the early adopters, and I'd like to talk about those in a moment, but of course you're going to have people who push back and just don't like change. Are you experiencing that? Have you had to handle that?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, when I started this business just over a year ago, and the idea was to give myself a 2-year runway to start introducing these tools, and then to start getting some people, you know, forward-thinking individuals to start using them, and then, you know, hopefully people latching on and following suit. With the pandemic, suddenly, you know, that changed that time frame. But that said, there are still quite a few people that are reluctant. I think in our business, there is a reluctance to change. There is a reluctance to move away what is tried, tested, and true. I mean, we look back and still photographers were using digital formats long before we were using them in film. Broadcast was using HD. They were doing HD production long before we had switched over and really embraced HD acquisition in filmmaking, and same with file-based acquisition in filmmaking. It takes a long time, and it literally took a tsunami to switch from tape-based formats to file-based formats for our industry. You know, there's real potential here that the pandemic does the same.
Yeah, it's a new tsunami, right? And we've got no choice but to change.
No, yeah, absolutely. It's you know, there are people out there, but you know what? We're winning them over one by one. You know, just quickly to add to Brian's point, I mean, the simplicity of these systems are what also makes them really, really valuable to people. It's not simply it's the, you know, aggregating of multiple cellular networks. So you're not relying on one provider to be able to keep your Zoom link up or to be able to stream your video. You're relying on anywhere from 3 to 6 SIM cards in these devices to be able to give you redundancy and the ability to have connectivity no matter where you are. And then to be able to move that video so easily. It's literally a box you pick up, you press a button on, and then you press another button to go live.
Yeah.
It's that simple. So yeah, there are people that have pushed back. There are people that have been reluctant, but you know, slowly but surely we're winning people over, and they're starting to understand the benefits of robust connectivity.
Yeah, massive benefit. So who have been the early adopters then, maybe even like pre-pandemic?
Yeah, because there was a handful of people. You know, I spent a lot of time last winter in particular, and then into the spring, taking things out, showing people doing some jobs. You know, there's a gentleman that I work with on a regular basis, cinematographer Vinit Borison. He introduced us to Eric Yayland, his director, and the people at Video Nerve and Publicis. We were able to do a Mercedes job for them. They had a job in Gimli, Manitoba, where Mercedes has a large event, and they were doing a ton of media around this ice track event. One of them was a commercial for cinematic release. So they came to us and asked us to help because it was really challenging conditions. There was a lot of car work. So they had a car with an arm on the side of it that was filming other cars, doing maneuvers on the ice. Having chase vehicles and things like that were difficult. So, and it was very cold. It was, we were in February in Gimli, Manitoba, which is probably as cold as it gets, or close. So keeping people safe, keeping them inside, unless they absolutely had to be out around the camera was really important.
Yeah, you're going to be pleased to be in the warm room watching remotely, right? In that kind of situation.
Yeah, we were able to have the client, we were on a lake. We were on a frozen lake out in the middle of it on this track. And, you know, wind chill minus 56, I think it was. So it was very cold. And we were able to have the client inside in the boardroom at the hotel that everyone was staying at. And they were able to give us immediate feedback on what was going on was that take good or not? Should we do more? Anything else? Oh, they needed us to get closer to the 4MATIC badge on the back of one of the cars. We didn't have to record everything, take it back. We didn't have to have another element in the production in a chase vehicle with a intermittent line of video back and forth via short range transmitter. We're able to give them a rock solid view of what was going on in the camera, real time, and it saved a ton of time, real efficiencies. They were actually able to get way more footage than they even needed. So it was a really fantastic experience.
Yeah, it sounds incredible. Well, should we take a look? I'd really like to see the Mercedes commercial. So let's play that. Wow, nice. I can see it looked absolutely blinking freezing. Were you confident that that lake was going to stay in place and it was going to be frozen?
Oh yeah, no, the lake, there was no issue.
Okay, it was that cold.
I don't know that it does unfreeze. There's no doubt about it, but not for long there. I mean, I think their summer's only a couple months. So
wow.
Yeah, no, it's thick. There's tons of ice fishing there, and they literally have an event a week long where they race cars on it. So there's certainly no issue for us.
What an experience. So what specific Dejero products were you using at that time then to make all of that work so well?
We had the encoder, so we had the Ngo in the car that was shooting. We had back at the hotel, we had a gateway to be an internet connection, and behind that we had the FlexPoint receiver. So we had a full system going, and we had our own internet. We weren't relying on the internet at the hotel, which was spotty to say the least. We were able to bring our own in a fairly remote area. And while we're remote and there weren't a ton of people, so that means there's not a lot of congestion. The key there was there weren't a lot of towers, and we were on the edge of the water. So, you know, we were quite far out onto the lake. And so you want to make sure, there's a lot of times too, people go out on their boat and all of a sudden they lose a connection. And we were concerned about that. But we knew that we had reliable connectivity with multiple points in terms of networks, and we were able to make it work. Once again, rock solid the entire time, and everybody was very pleased.
I was going to ask, actually, the client must have been really happy with that.
Absolutely. There was even a point where we sped off to an airport about 10 kilometers down the road to be able to shoot the stuff with the dogs in a more sort of an easily confined area, just for safety. And we were able to put everything in the back of trucks and just literally go mobile. So, you know, very little in terms of infrastructure was needed. It was just a small, really small gas generator to have the FlexPoint and the gateway going. But we were able to do that really quickly too. So really flexible, very, very simple plug and play package, and away we went.
Yeah, whatever the weather, which is amazing. Can I ask, I mean, what kind of challenges have you faced, Brandon, with physical distancing guidelines and travel? I mean, I can only imagine you're traveling all the time with what you do.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult, but luckily, we're able to do demos online. One of the things that we do, it's been kind of great, is that we've been taking the Dejero infrastructure. So the tools largely have been built for broadcast. So what we're doing at First Mile is we're finding ways to be able to help on either side of that infrastructure and creating platforms, creating accessories, and different equipment in order to be able to help the filmmaking, film and media production industry be able to use this stuff seamlessly. So we've been inserting streams into Zoom calls. And so suddenly that's the way we were communicating with people anyways. So when I would do a call with a potential client, we would get a camera, we would hook up an Ngo, and we would put the video into the Zoom call. There's been other platforms we've been using. We've been working with a company called Evercast, and Evercast has been known to stream. They were a platform that was built via OBS just to stream post-production sessions. We started inserting video into that platform, which is a really high-end platform, really great resolution, very, very stable, very low latency. And we're inviting clients into that and being able to have a not only just a meeting, but a real demonstration of what this stuff can do. And they can see for their own eyes how well it works and how easy it is.
Yeah, and that's key. That's what everyone needs at this time, because there's plenty of challenges for sure. And Brian, if I could come to you now to really ask you that, because when this pandemic hit, and I certainly felt it for my business, it was like, oh my gosh, how are we going to do this? So how have you been impacted by COVID-19, and how have you come through that?
It was difficult, obviously, in the beginning. We didn't know exactly what was going to happen. And I think now over the last few months, I'm really understanding, what we need to do, how to keep people and our crew safe, the talent safe. It's been a challenge, but I think for us, understanding the guidelines and since our company is very streamlined and we can maneuver in different ways, and we have crews all over the country, so we are able, and internationally as well, we are able to kind of have people, on the ground ready to go. And we've been able to figure out, if somebody's not comfortable having someone in their home or on stage or whatever the case is, that we can kind of have a drop kit and have it, sent in and the people there can use it. We just did it on a project this past weekend where the talent wasn't comfortable having the crew inside, and we literally left the camera and explained how to operate it and gave them instructions, said here's what it is, and we can monitor it. So we've been able to adapt that way, and I think honestly over time we're going to see that this is allowing, I don't know what the new normal is going to be, but this is allowing for people to and companies to be able to shoot in a way that we've never seen before.
Right. We're certainly seeing innovation. I mean, people say, don't they, you diversify or die. You have to find a way in all of these situations. And you were telling us about a project that you worked on with iHeartRADIO. So I was just wondering if you could just chat us through that and talk about how that was a different approach for you and what you did in that situation to make it work.
With iHeartRADIO, we work with a lot, and we, again, it was a situation where we had to come in and have a very small footprint and be able to still see what's going on, and the clients in New York and they need to see what's going on. So again, we're using in this case, we use the Ngo to transmit the signal to our client and to actually our editor so that they can view it and start editing right away. And it was a live performance for the most part. So we had to make sure that everything was right and everything looked good. And so, we were able to do that by basically seeing what the camera was showing, and it helped with the whole production in general.
Yeah, extra pressure when it's live for sure. And let's take a look, if we just take a look at a clip of that and just see what you were doing.
everyone, it's your girl Emily Curl, and I am so excited you're joining us for our iHeartRADIO at Home sessions presented by Hellman's, featuring the very talented songs on their Feel Good Summer playlist. Who is someone that you play around your house, whether you're cooking or you're in your garden or you're hanging out at your house?
I'm loving Drake's new record. I've been listening to a lot of hip hop. So Drake and Cardi B, What's Poppin' is like my new summer jam. Jason Derulo has become like a TikTok star now. I don't even think of him as a pop star anymore.
Right? He's good at it. He's got some
Thanks
good
for
ones.
having me. And a huge shout out to Hellman's for putting this all together. Love you guys so much. I think you know this one. This is sort of the song that made it all happen for me back in the day. This is Beautiful Soul. Yeah. I don't want another pretty face. I don't want just anyone to hold. I don't want my love to go to waste. I want you and your beautiful soul. Yeah.
Oh, nice. I didn't want that to end then. That was lovely. Enjoying that. But that definitely looked like it had its challenges. Amazing how you can have different people in different places. So, and it still works as a show. So how did the Dejero products come into play there?
So again, it was a similar thing where we were able to see what we're shooting and send the signal out to the client and to our editor and to us, and we could see what's going on as it's happening. And again, if you're allowed to have your, director, DP, whatever the case is, there, it makes life a lot easier and a lot more comforting. But, in that case, we were able to, but, again, I think the biggest thing, every shoot is different. Every situation is different. There's no one size fits all for what we do, obviously. And I think that because of that, we have to adapt, especially now during this time where I know when I need to reach out to Brandon and go, hey man, I need to get this system in because of X, Y, and Z, or we're in the middle of nowhere or whatever the case is. And then there's other times where it's like, okay, I think we could get this done without it causing any headaches on our side. So again, it really depends on the situation and what you're into and what you're doing.
So Brandon, back to you then. Who has the pandemic impacted specifically? So driving new interest, would you say, and like that change in mindset that we're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, it goes right now. What we're seeing largely is commercial production. Suddenly you can't have 20 people across your client agency on your set. Are they able to travel? A lot of times they're from the US or they're from another country. They're unable to travel. And then also just you're trying to keep your numbers on set down. So what you're attempting to do is, because they're critical to what you're doing, because they're the client, they're the agency, they're the ones that are approving things. And they're the ones who've been working on the campaign for sometimes months. To not have them on set suddenly is a problem. So creativity, like in terms of creativity, you want their input, you want their approval. So this way we're able to, no matter where you are, and this is the best part about it, you can be in a studio and maybe the studio has a LAN connection. You can plug that LAN connection into this equipment and use that as your primary connection. But if for whatever reason it's spotty or it's not up to snuff, the cellular connectivity will come and shape around it. Similarly, in long format, you have showrunners, you have executive producers. Sometimes you have directors and cinematographers that need to contribute to these projects and once again can't travel, or the world is changing. People are doing so many different things at once. Sometimes it's just a small shoot. We had an example just a couple weeks ago where there was a feature film being shot in Winnipeg. The actress on it was needed to do some reshoots for a job that she had done previously last summer. And so we were able to set them up with an NGO and insert the video into a conference call like this. The director was far flung. The DP was also far flung. They were able to come back in and through an iPad direct the crew and the talent, and had no issues whatsoever. They got their day and then some, and were able to contribute in a way that normally they wouldn't be able to. They'd have to hand off their creative license to people who were there. And in this case, they didn't have to do that. So long format stuff, people are starting to come around. There, like I said, there's showrunners, there's executive producers that want to check in, that normally would fly in for a few days here or there. The showrunner certainly longer. A showrunner can be away from their family for, you know, months and months and months. If it's a long series, it could be 3/4 of a year. They're hardly ever back with their families. Now, they have to be because of the pandemic. But I think in the future, you're looking at the potential of them being able to have real creative license still with what's going on. And the necessity for them to be right there all the time maybe isn't what it used to be.
So you think that we're going to see change now going forward, you know, post-pandemic, even when we're through this, and let's hope that that's not too far away, you think that there are changes here that, and we're never going to go back?
Well, I think there's an element to that. I you know, we'll see. We don't know for certain, but I think when you're using the right tools, and this is a lot of it, is that when it doesn't work, it's totally ridiculous and it's a pain. There's no doubt about it. I mean, there's a reason why there's been you know, applications for streaming. There have been devices for streaming prior to this, and our industry just wasn't using them. And the reason why was because they weren't working reliably. What we're bringing is the connectivity and the devices at a tier that isn't prosumer. It isn't a consumer device. You're not using SIMs that are that you buy at your mobile store or the grocery store. You're using top tier SIMs. You're using professional equipment to match your professional project. And so as a result, you're getting those same results that are commiserate with what you're doing. If you're using cameras from Arri, and you have top flight actors and a top director on your job, and you're using a single provider internet stick, like what, you know, you don't have to do that. There are ways, and there, you have the ability to be able to have connectivity that matches the level of your production.
So Brian, can I throw that question to you as well? Like, how do you see this changing now in terms of going forward? You know, have things changed forever from your perspective?
I don't think it's changed forever. I think it's just a new normal. I think, you know, I think that clients, you know, brands and whomever kind of will see now that, hey, maybe I don't have to spend all this money on X, Y, and Z, you know, to get people in certain spots. I think traveling will be for shoots and what have you will be cut as far as like who's going out and what happens. And, you know, we don't know how much longer we're going to kind of be in this situation. You know, hopefully it's soon, but it could be another 6 months, could be another year. Nobody knows. And so I think that, you know, we're at a point where we're making it work, and it's still, and the quality is still super high, and it's you know, I think it's a situation where you know, it's like you're adapting, you're learning, you're understanding of how things are kind of, you know, being put out and portrayed. And so I think this is a new normal. You know, I think people will still have to go to set and clients will still have to do these things just for comfort. But knowing that this is an option on the table and these different methods of remote production are available, I think people are going to rethink things, and it'll be a budgetary thing, or it could be just a personal preference type of thing. So I think, you know, we'll kind of see how it goes with both.
Yeah, I think that people have really realized that as well, in terms of actually they're getting more time back because of all of this and spending time with family. Is that a benefit that you found as well? Have there been benefits in all of this? Because I imagine you must have been traveling a huge amount too.
Well, I think for me, you know, yeah, we were traveling and going on shoots and you know, getting kind of what the norm was. And for me, you know, I'm big with, you know, obviously I my kids and my family, and spending time with them and being able to, you know, I coach all my kids in sports and every sport they do. And that's almost a full-time job in itself.
Right.
So, so for me, I was doing that before COVID, but yeah, I mean, again, it's another way to, I think for other people now, to look at it and go, wait, I can spend more time with my family, where I don't have to travel all the time. I could do something remotely. Because honestly, at the end of the day, there's, you know, if you're a client or if you're a director or whatever, you're still sitting behind, you know, in a video village looking at monitors. Now, can you go and talk to the talent or directly and do that? No, you can't. So there is that difference. But I think there is that situation where it's pretty close to not having to be on set, where you're getting everything you need because you can see what's actually happening in real time. So yes, I think it will free people up and make people's lives a little less hectic and be able to spend some time with their families because of this.
Yeah, let's hang on to that for sure. So Brandon, advice, if you wouldn't mind, if people are looking to implement this, where do they start?
Well, I mean, I think, you know, simply, I know, you know, for us, it was just a conversation. I think if people are, if there are dots that need to be connected, if there are gaps in your process, if there are things hindering you because certain people can't be involved, then you let us know and you give us a call. And what we're doing is we're creating bespoke solutions, you know, for creative people. And so the coolest thing about this for us anyways has been literally since March, being on calls with people like Brian, with other clients and listening and finding out, because we felt, you know, a year ago, I felt as though I had an idea of how these solutions could be used. And, you know, over the last 6 to 8 months, that's changed. It's evolved and it continues to evolve. You know, there's a lot of different things that people need this connectivity for, and we're all about listening and then creating. And so we're finding ways to be able to do some really interesting things. We're talking about controlling cameras and lights remotely, you know, which is phenomenal. Being able to send video anywhere in various different forms. We can be just a really simple video village for your set and have the people who are segregated to a degree on set now, different departments, we can give them really ultra low latency video like they were watching it right from the camera, but instead of being at a video village, they can watch it on their device. And then alternatively, if you are far away and you need to see it, you can watch that same link on your device and see what's going on as well. So it's a matter of talking. It's a matter of asking questions, and it's experimentation. It's trying things. We continue to work with Dejero. I mean, it's been really, really fun working with you know, Kevin Fernandez and his team, the dev team there, and bringing things to them that they hadn't thought about. You know, I know there was a gentleman that I met from Dejero six years ago, maybe. I met him at NAB, Praveen Gupta, and because of a conversation, just simply a conversation, you know, this has come out of it. So I think it's a matter of talking. It's a matter of asking questions, and it's a matter of opening your mind a little bit and trying something new, trying something that's a little bit different, and understanding that there really are very few limits. And I think particularly as the internet starts to change, which it's about too soon, the sky really is the limit.
Yeah, 100%. So Brian, with that in mind then, what changes do you see over the next couple of years for you?
You know, again, our big, you know, area we focus on is the digital, commercial, social. So, you know, I don't, you know, I think that, you know, more advertising and ways that people are, you know, marketing their brands and content are will continue in this, you know, medium kind of thing. I think that for us, it's really, trying to figure out how long we'll still stay in this kind of situation and what that looks like. But again, I think we're in a good spot now. And there's going to be new stuff. I mean, Brandon will probably call me tomorrow and be like, "Hey man, I got this thing," and I'm like, "All right, cool, let's use it on the next shoot." But there'll be advancements and ways of doing things, and it's only going to get better because I think Brandon and I talked about this before. So my background's in sports when I first started out, which was one of the best jobs I ever had in my life. But I love my company, don't get me wrong, but like the remote stuff was mainly used in sports. I mean, that's where it kind of started, because you had to get signals out from a lot of different areas where it wasn't a situation where you could be at a stadium, you could be at a rink, you could be wherever, and you had to figure out how to get a remote, and that's where you bring in the trucks and what have you. So it's just a smaller version of what we're doing now to get that signal out for different venues. So, but you see how the technology has gone from where it was to where it is today. And, I think that's just going to continue. And I think that is really what's going to change the industry in general is the technology of being able to do remote production, being able to not have to travel every 5 minutes for something. And I think it's only going to get better. And since we were forced into this situation, it allows for people to go, wait a second, we got to find a solution to it. And, like Brand and I talk about, it's something that you have two options in a situation like this. You can curl up in a ball and say, it is what it is and wait it out. Or you jump in with both feet and go, we got to figure this out because we have to do something. This isn't going away. This isn't changing in this moment. So how do we fix it? How do we adapt? And I think that's the biggest thing with all of this is we're all in it together type of situation. So we're all trying to figure that out with each other.
And that's exciting. Like when you have times like this that disrupts what's going on, it change things. We have to innovate. We have to move, we have to find a way, like you say. So in that case, Brandon, and I don't know if you can answer this and look into your crystal ball for me, but we've just talked over the next couple of years, but actually what about further afield? Can you look at what's 5-10 years ahead? Where are the opportunities?
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is just the tip of the iceberg. And this is, I get, a lot of people make fun of me as a result of getting so excited, but I get very, very excited about the prospect of, really robust connectivity at this level for applications moving forward. Even right now, I mean, it's amazing. The things we can do with cellular, the things we can do with cellular and satellite together, we can literally have people connected anywhere so that they can use whatever application they need. Moving forward, I think, the emergence of 5G, what we're going to see with that, imagine multiple 5G connections, the speeds and the capacity there. And then we talk about low Earth orbit satellite and the prospect of having speeds that exceed 5G and have it available globally, everywhere. There will be high-speed internet everywhere, like in the entire world. The ability to move data or video or whatever you need through that is going to be incredible. So, what keeps me up at night is the prospect of going from sensor to post. And there's a gentleman, Michael Cioni from Light Iron, now at Frame.io, and him and I have chatted just a very little bit as we share the same sort of idea. We're going at it different ways, but we think about these same things. And I don't think we're all that far off of streaming from a camera right to post-production where they can use that footage right away. In fact, Brian's doing it. We've done projects with Brian where an Engo is in Nashville, he's in LA, his editor's in LA, the signal comes to us, we insert it into a video call or our WebRTC platform, and they see it, we push it to his editor, he saves it and starts cutting with it on his computer. if we could, like, these things are possible, and being able to do that at a level where, you know, your cameras are doing that and they're sending it right away. I mean, it's really not all that far off as the internet moves. Like, moving data, raw data from a film set is incredible. I mean, I just, in when we were talking about this seminar, and I mentioned about, you know, dream is each show maybe moving a terabyte of video before lunch. I mean, you know, it sounds crazy, but
now it's
all
possible.
that far off.
Yeah.
It's not all that far off. And I honestly believe that. And connectivity is not going anywhere. I mean, data is one of the most coveted commodities in the world. And connectivity is handcuffed to that. Without connectivity, that data can't move. And if it can't move, it's nowhere near as really worth, it's not worth anything, really. So you've got to be able to move it.
I just love how passionate you are about all of this. I mean, it sounds really exciting, Brian, as well, for you and everything that you're doing. So 5 to 10 years as well. I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, no, again, I think that we'll be able to, you know, again, hopefully do new things, cool things, different things. I mean, that's the other thing too, is like, how do you stay, you know, out in front? How do you, you know, bend with the curve? How do you, what makes your company different than other companies? I think these are things that I'm constantly thinking about, and how to grow and you know, separate myself in a way. You know, there's a lot of different companies out there, and we're all kind of, you know, trying to figure out how to offer new things to our clients so we get new business and keep our clients and this and that. So I think by just thinking outside the box and understanding that, you know, there's new things out here, and we can you know, really make people's lives easier. I think that's our biggest thing for me, is like with my clients, is like I'm trying to help them to make their lives easier. Their lives are hard enough, you know, they got to deal with X, Y, and Z and this and that. And for us, it's like all about making sure that we can, you know, make their lives easier, so they're not constantly having to worry about other things, especially what we're shooting. So that's the biggest thing, I think.
Yeah, super exciting times ahead. Well, look, we've got some questions coming in. So let's take a look at those before we close. We've got about 10, 12 minutes before we finish. So first of all, Brandon, the question for you is, can I rent the equipment? So I suppose this is a concern for people, right, is the outlay. And it all sounds fantastic. Yeah, I want to get on board, but actually this is going to cost. So do you have to own it? Can you rent it? How does it work?
No, I mean, you can do whatever you need. Certainly things are available from Dejero. What we specialize in is we specialize in rentals. So, you know, and this is where it kind of separates, you know, us from a lot of others, is that we're working with Dejero, but we're not just giving you equipment and then walking away. We're not selling you a transmitter and a receiver and then taking your money and saying bye. What we want is, we want to see you succeed with this. We want to build a solution that is custom for your business, for your application, for your shoot. And so, you know, we provide rentals. I mean, I've been renting cameras for 25 years. I understand not only how that works, but the level of support and care that a lot of the people that do work at this level expect. And so we're there for that. Also, if we're engaging with a client that way, then we're able to do a much better job in terms of innovating and listening, finding different things that they need, and coming up with things that don't exist in order to be able to use this stuff even more effectively than you can right now. Yeah, look, connectivity is something that a lot of people covet. They haven't been able to get it at the level that they need it. And we're able to help people do that. So I think really, to be honest, if it's renting, so people don't have to put the outlay out, that's no problem. But if someone does have a situation where they have facilities and they want to be able to do it themselves, then we'll work with them to be able to get that equipment in their hands, and then also help support them as they set it up and as they evolve as well.
I've got a technical question here as well, just asking about fidelity and latency. latency with image quality. Can you just touch on that?
Latency. Well, I mean, with the Ngo, we're typically we're streaming video out at about 5 megabits per second, and that's at about 1080p. Latency to the receiver is sub 1 second. Sometimes when you're inserting it into video calls and things of that nature, you can add a little bit more latency, but we've found that it's actually pretty minimal. We haven't seen latency any higher than 2 seconds with any of the chat programs and things of that nature that we're using. Some are better than others. You know, I won't slag the one we're on now, not by any stretch, but a lot of these programs weren't made for this. Where you can improve and where you can get better and have better results is when you're looking at a platform that is made for high resolution video, ultra low latency video, and collaboration. So it all depends on what your budget is. It all depends on what your need is, but we can put something together in order to work no matter what you're doing. The latency is low, the resolution is high. We can go higher. If it all depends on how much you want to pay for. How many gigabytes are you using, really, is what it comes down to. We can go to Ultra HD. And I think soon, a large majority of the devices that we have are actually, even right now, I think they're 4K ready. So once again, that's more bandwidth. If that's what you require, then we can give that to you. So yeah, it all depends on what you need. Once again, I think it's important to recognize that the tools we're using here weren't just made for this. They've been used and tried, tested, and true at inaugurations, at royal weddings, at the Tour de France. You know, these are not new products. These are products that have evolved as the internet has evolved, and they're ready to go. So you can rely on them.
Sounds good. Brian, question for you is, do you see this actually as an opportunity to work with more international clients? So rather than this pandemic making things smaller, has it actually created an opportunity for you in the long term, do you think?
Yeah, I think that, again, it just allows you to be in places that you normally might not be able to, or get there as quickly type of situation. So, yeah, I mean, again, we're able to be a lot more nimble and a lot more streamlined just by using, you know, the Ngo and services like this to you know, kind of be accountable for what we're doing, and we can see it. And I think that's one of the biggest things that, again, I think the biggest thing that people I think should understand is that and what we knew early on is understanding that if you have to rely on a signal like a Zoom or a Wi-Fi, and you're in a certain spot, you're gonna be in trouble. And I knew that from the beginning. I was like, I know that, and again, coming from sports, I knew that if we're only relying on Wi-Fi or a Zoom, we're gonna be in trouble. So we had to figure out who has something that has its own signal that is independent from whatever else we're using. So, and then at a good friend of mine, Jason, anyway, he was basically telling me that, you know, we have this thing and we're using it. And Jason and I, he was a DP on one of our films that we did back in the day, independent films. And we started talking. I'm like, all right, this sounds like the thing that we need to use to get it around it. And sure enough, it was.
Fantastic. I've got more questions coming in. Another one for you, Brandon. In what situation would Brandon choose to use satellite rather than bonded cellular? Can the two technologies be combined?
Yeah, absolutely. I literally we just sent out we have a turnkey satellite antenna that we got as a fantastic company called CCOM. And we use the Dejero CellSat product, which whenever there's a job or a need for connectivity in places where even cellular is weak, or there's there's the potential for a ton of cellular congestion and your cellular networks may get overrun, then we can add satellite to it. In some cases, we've just gone straight satellite. So, and it'll be internet, just straight satellite internet. We work with a company called TV2Go, who's really fantastic, and we can do point-to-point internet calls from them, from a satellite they have a segment on. So we did a job like that in northern Quebec, where there was no real satellite, no cellular coverage. We were able to take our satellite there, our satellite antenna, get a segment from TV2Go, and we had, probably close to 20 megabits per second up and down, which is insane. It was able to facilitate Zoom calls during a scout to a director who was in Denmark. We did a Zoom call, and they were able to, it was a huge property up in northern Quebec, and they were able to carry around this laptop where they had a Zoom call on with him and do the scout. Then a week later, we did the job, and same thing. We were able to give them the ability to have their own Zoom call and be able to do the production with client agency. So satellite can be used on its own, but yeah, it can absolutely be blended with cellular to be a backup. We did that in Bahamas with CP24. So, there's ways to be able to use these technologies independently, but also together, which is a really, really exciting thing. And like I was saying, particularly as we talk about Starlink and OneWeb and these low Earth orbit constellations that are being put up right now that are going to give us ubiquitous connectivity at levels that are just mind-blowing.
Whilst we're talking tech, someone's asking for some clarification around codec, and they're saying, did they hear that streaming is 1080p and 5 megabits per second? So what codec is that?
I believe it's HEVC. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a high grade codec that is used for broadcast.
Okay, great. I'll take your word for that as a non-techie. Someone is wondering if this technology can help reduce the interference on set. So they say, I work in long format film production and we get situations regularly where everything is working fine. But then as soon as the cameras turn on, our direct line of sight for our devices falters and then they're unable to control them.
I have not yet seen, and there's no wood right here, but I'll knock on it. I've not yet seen an issue with any of that. Once again, our technology is working on its own connectivity. It brings its own, so it's not reliable on anything else, and it's using essentially public internet, combining it, encoding it, and sending it off. So I have not seen any kind of interference at all, other than cellular congestion. And once again, like you're somewhere at the Raptors, championship parade, where there's, hundreds of thousands of people all on their cell phones, there could be issues, but yeah, largely, otherwise, no, it's as strong as it gets. Once again, like you're relying on this stuff for, high leverage broadcast situations. This is how it was built. So being able to send a feed from a set really is only using just a really small bit of its capability.
So can you believe it? That's pretty much our time up. And that's all the time we've really got now for questions. I know you guys would be open to people getting in touch and asking more. But just to kind of finish up today, can I just ask for your 3 take homes? Like either 3 top tips or key messages that you really want people to go away with today. And Brian, if I could start with you.
Yeah, I think that, number one, we're still kind of in the middle of what we're dealing with. And that I think as you can see, there are ways around the challenges that we're facing. That's the first thing. I think the second thing is that, the technology is getting better. So I think it's going to help at the end of the day, making our lives easier on the production side. And, number 3, I just think the biggest thing is that if there's ways that you can be successful and get your work done, but also have time for your family and your life. And, I think these are the things that people are going to start to look at and say, hey, you know what? I can do a lot of different things and not feel completely stressed out or overwhelmed or we can't do X, Y, and Z because of, whatever situation you're in. I think in the end of the day, there's always ways there's always ways around things. And I think with Brandon and I, we're working together, we've been figuring that out. So I think those are the biggest takeaways for me, at least.
Embrace it and get people around you who can help and support you in that.
Right.
And Brandon, to finish, your 3 take-home messages.
Yeah, I don't know about 3, but before I go
103.
I want to thank Brian for having an open mind. That is probably the real key here, is having an open mind and trusting in people to be able to help. I want to thank the people at Dejero. I have 2 Yelenas at Dejero who help us really fantastically. Baha Zant, who's our technical account manager. Everybody at Dejero has been really fantastic with us. And I think really to take away is that, connectivity is your friend, and robust connectivity is going to be able to give any production a real reliable and sort of turnkey solution to be able to send video out. And it can be fairly local. It can be far flung. It could just be just to be able to have internet on set, whether you are here, whether you're in Chile, whether you're in, we are talking about right now in discussions about setting up in Germany.
Or Jersey.
Or Jersey, that's right, or Jersey. Or Nashville, or Los Angeles, or wherever you are. I mean, really, there is connectivity there, and it's just a matter of finding it and then using it to your advantage. The whole idea here, though, is for the staid ways of doing things, we have to get away from, well, we're doing it this way because it kind of works, or it works well enough. Let's look at how we can do things better. Let's look at how we can be more inclusive, and there's ways to be. So look, connectivity should be the last thing you're worrying about on your set. The first thing that you need to do is make your movie, or make your production at the level that you want. And it's hard enough to do that on its own without having to worry if your stream or if your video is getting out to the people that need to be involved. So I think that's, if anybody's taking anything away from this can be simple, and it can be reliable, and it can be really, really easy.
Exciting times for sure. Brian and Brandon, thank you so much. It's been brilliant. I've really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you everybody for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking the time to do so. And you can, of course, keep this conversation going. Do follow Dejero on LinkedIn. You can also catch up with the guys as well if you want to. Their contact details are there. And of course, head to the Dejero website. And there's going to be an on-demand link as well for this. And you can watch this again if you want to, because it was so fabulous on the website. But for now, from me, from Brian, from Brandon, and from the Dejero team, thank you very much for joining us, and goodbye.
Thanks, Hannah.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.